This is the Financial Beat, helping you hit all the right notes in your financial plan. So sit back as we strike up the band. The Financial Beat with Logan Sadler starts now.
We are here with another edition of the Financial Beat, ladies and gentlemen. Logan Sadler is here, the Vice President and Chief Investment Officer at Brigari Financial. My name is Ron Stutz. We're going to talk about getting you to and through retirement, as always. Logan, how's it going?
I'm doing great, Ron. As I always say, I'm ready here for a good show and looking forward to my favorite part of the week here, which is Radio Day.
And we were just talking about how we both like this time of the year where it's not really hot like like summertime, but it's also not cold yet. And, you know, fall is here. And, man, I tell you, I love it.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think it's nice because, like you said, that early fall weather, it's pretty hard to beat because you'll get those cold, nice, brisk mornings, and you get those nice hot afternoons, and then it cools back down again. So you kind of hard to beat.
Yeah. We're going to talk about a lot of things having to do with your financial life, getting you to and through retirement. That's the key to this whole show. But first, let me tell you the phone number you can use to get a discovery meeting going. And we'll talk more about a discovery meeting as we go along today. But the number to call is 888-823-PLAN. 888-823-PLAN. That number is for Brigari Financial with two convenient offices, Hemet and also Redlands. 888-823-PLAN. Hey, Logan, got a fun fact of the week here. And first of all, I want to ask you, do you do a lot of walking? I mean, it's one of the things that's supposed to be one of the easiest, best things you can do for your health. And I'll admit right up front, I don't do nearly as much as I should. How about you?
Yeah, what's funny is I try my best when I'm at home, you know, doing the yard work or hanging out with the kids or whatever it is. I definitely get steps in. However, especially this time of year when it's dark when I get home and you know, sitting at the office here all day, even if I walk around while I'm on the phone, I don't get enough walking as I would say I would like to get.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I read earlier this week that people in certain parts of Africa and Asia walk an average of 3.7 miles a day to collect water. Now, these are the folks who have to do that, but I mean, that's a long way to walk every single day.
Yeah, there's probably people in the U.S. that don't walk a mile all day, right? So
right.
That, I would say we're a little spoiled in that fact. And like you said, just walking almost 4 miles there just to get water, that's amazing. Wow.
Good opportunity for us all to be thankful for what we have. And speaking of being thankful, we're right here on the in the anticipation period for Thanksgiving. And Thanksgiving a big deal at your house with your family?
Yeah, it is. I would say the probably most celebrated holidays we do is probably Thanksgiving and Christmas. And so, yeah, we always have a cool little celebration with my wife's family on Thursday, and then we'll drive out of town and go spend it with my family. And so it's nice we do it the following day. So we kind of get 2 Thanksgiving dinners in a row, which some people would be mad about. However, I am not. I love it.
I'm not complaining either, man.
No.
I can certainly understand that. My son does the same thing. It's a big meal at our house and a big meal at his in-laws' house. And it's crazy.
And I'll even take some home the next day for lunch the next day, right? It's like, hey,
exactly.
Can't beat it.
Man, I love Thanksgiving because, you know, you don't have to buy anybody any presents. Just enjoy some good food and family and maybe watch a little football in there, too. But let's continue our annual tradition of reviewing what Thanksgiving traditions can teach us all about financial planning. First of all, I mentioned football a moment ago, but, you know, there always seems to be a Detroit Lions game on TV, and they always seem to lose. This year may be a little different because they're pretty darn good, I think. But, you know, that is a tradition that a lot of people observe every year along with a big meal and all the other stuff that goes along with it. And I'm just wondering what we might be able to learn about financial planning from this Thanksgiving tradition.
Yeah, like you said, I mean, you look at like the Lions, for example, like you said, they play quite a bit on on Thanksgiving. So you would think they would be pretty good at it, right? However, right, they don't typically have the best winning record on the big day there, right? So I think in financial planning, a lot of people think just because maybe they've had investments or have been investing for a while, that might make them an expert, right? Just because you've had a 401k for decades doesn't necessarily mean you're an expert, right? And I think a lot of the times when you look at investing, we get confused with, a lot of the times we're not really managing our 401k very actively, and there's not normally a whole lot of choices in some of the 401ks as far as how to invest. So I think when you look at hiring an advisor or branching out or doing something like that with yourself or using an advisor, I think you could really see a lot of the value, especially as you approach retirement and build wealth and things like that. There's a lot of tools out there that most of the time people aren't even aware of, right? We talk about annuities all the time. We talk about structured notes, bond ladders, treasuries, insurance products, right? There's really a whole array of things out there, and you don't need all of them. Some people don't, but I think it's important to understand what is out there to make sure you're building a customized portfolio and not just kind of staying where you're at because you're comfortable.
Well, as I mentioned before, that football tradition may not hold true this year because Lions had a pretty good record coming into this holiday. But another thing that seems to always happen at Thanksgiving, when you get the whole family together and, the in-laws and all that kind of stuff, they're family members arguing. Now, for some families, arguing about politics in particular, sometimes it's religion, but usually it's politics. It's a routine part of the Thanksgiving holiday. And I'm just wondering, first of all, is it like that with your family? And second of all, what happens with financial planning? How does that hook up with all of that example?
Yeah, I think, I don't think you're a family unless you have some good arguments, right? I mean, I think we could, or close friends or any of that, right? I think everything has those tussles, right, back and forth. And I think that's healthy. I think it's good that people have conversations and things like that. However, like you said, you got to make sure you understand that it's nothing, that's going to be impacting your long-term, friendship or relationship, however, right? You got to be respectful. We could all disagree, right? But I think when you look at your estate plan, Ron, and things like that, like you were saying, tying it into the financial world, you would be amazed at some of the stories I could tell on the show about people not getting along, right? And by people, I mean clients' kids or the estate of. And one of the worst things you could do is leave things unfinished, right? Or not started. And looking at, I've seen some people around where they leave behind money to 5 kids. Things go smoothly. They had their trust set up. They had their estate plan set up. Beneficiaries listed, the kids and things like that. Everything was talked about with mom or dad beforehand. So everybody kind of knew how things were going to go, right? Yeah. I've seen things on the opposite end where nothing was done. Parents never talked about it with the kids. Mom, dad, or brother, or whoever thought they should get more, right? Maybe there's a separate marriage. Maybe there's a complex situation in there. And so I think understanding your current situation, if you're if you're married out there, you and your wife, and you're looking at your estate plan, you need to make sure you understand what are you trying to do? Who do you want to leave money to? How do you want that structured? How do you want to protect yourself and them? Get your proper documents drawn up for your estate plan. Get that stuff done. Look at your accounts, your 401ks, things like that. Should they be left to the trust? Should they be left to named beneficiaries? Really kind of walk through all that. And, who do you want to take care of all this, right? There's sometimes you want to leave one kid or you want to leave this kid or this friend or whoever. And really having those conversations with your spouse, I think, is super important. And I also encourage people in most cases to really reiterate that to the kids. Like, hey, you know what? If something does happen, here's kind of what mom and dad were thinking, right? And here's what we're going to do. Not to get their input or anything like that, but really just to let them kind of know, hey, here's kind of the way things are going to go. Because the problem is if it's not really talked about much or if the kids have no idea, and it could get a little bit tense after mom and dad are gone of how things are going to go.
Yeah, and if you take care of all those things in advance, I mean, you're going to make it a lot easier for those who are left behind. And I think we all would really like that. Some of us don't go to the trouble of doing it, but, it's a good idea. 888-823-PLAN, 888-823-PLAN is your number to call if you'd like to have a conversation with Logan Sadler about your financial situation, whether it's about, what you leave behind or what you're doing now, inflation, Social Security, whatever you want to talk about. Logan Sadler would love to sit down and discuss it with you. 888-823-PLAN is the number to call to make it cost-free and obligation-free. Another thing that happens on Thanksgiving every year is the Westminster Dog Show. I don't know if you thought about that, but I love dogs, but not to the degree that these people are just insane about the amount of money that they spend on their show dogs. First of all, you have to buy a purebred puppy. You're going to hire professional trainers, buy the most expensive food imaginable to feed the dog. groomed the dog all the time, traveled to dozens of regional dog shows before ever making it to Westminster. Very few people do. Most dogs at Westminster end up costing their owners around $250,000 a year. Which, different strokes for different folks. If you got the money and you want to do that, that's fine. But I can't imagine that. But can we learn, as regular people here, can we learn anything about financial planning from this example?
Yeah, I think it's a great reminder that everybody has different priorities, right? Or everybody has different goals. And it is funny where I'll sit down. This never ceases to amaze me, right? And I think, Ron, I know you're married, and I'm married as well. And so I always crack up every time we talk about something like this. One of us will probably relate to it, right? And I'm sure those of you listening, driving in the car or sitting at home right now, wherever you're at, probably would agree as well. Where, I'll have people come into our office. They say, "Listen, Logan, me and my wife, we have $1 million in a retirement account. We have $500,000 worth of our house, and we have some bank accounts and things like that. So total, let's say it's $1.6 million or something like that, right?" Mm-hmm. Okay. And I said, okay, perfect. So we're kind of going over your income goals and things like that. Then it comes down to I always ask this question at our discovery meeting: what is your goals? I mean, is the whole goal to take care of you guys, to have as much income as you can? Or were you wanting to try to preserve as much as possible, or some of it to leave behind to the kids? And it's almost instantly, where not every time, but it does happen a lot. I'd say maybe 50% of the time, before they even look at each other, the husband will say, "I would like to enjoy it," right? Or the wife will say, "I'd like to enjoy it." Yeah. And the husband will say, "I'd like to leave behind some to the kids," right? It's always an opposite agreement. And you're like, oh, okay. And, in all of our relationships and things like that, it's so funny because that's the best part about everything, is none of us have to agree 100% on everything. But finding that common ground and having somebody that's able to work through that with you guys, because sometimes you can't achieve both. But it is funny where you'll see people from similar backgrounds or similar situations, or total opposite situations, and have a completely similar view. So it's important to really understand what your values are with money and what you're really looking for that money to do for you and your family over your retirement.
There's a great song that comes to mind, an old song by Dave Mason. There ain't no good guy. There ain't no bad guy. There's only you and me, and we just disagree.
It's true. It's true. Yeah, it's funny where, like I said, it doesn't matter if it's the husband, the wife, or whoever. There's always those little disagreements in there, and I think it's important to talk through that.
The overriding thought at Thanksgiving, we talk about food, family, lying on the couch watching football games and all that kind of stuff. But the point of this holiday is to reflect on your life and be thankful for what you have, and that's what we all need to keep in mind, whether it comes to celebrating Thanksgiving or dealing with your everyday financial life.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think we could all be thankful for things. I mean, when you might not feel very financially successful or things like that, right? It's important to understand that wealth that you enjoy, there can be a lot more out there than just money, right? But however, it is interesting because if you're listening to the show right now, it's nearly a guarantee that you're probably close to the top 10% of wealthiest people in the world, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And a high percentage of you listening are probably in the top 1% globally, right? So when you look at things in the grand scheme, I always say you really can't compare your situation to other people's. You can only compare your situation to your situation, right? And so I think it's super important to understand, and that's the whole point of the show, right? We come on here to talk, have some jokes, some laughs, bring some information, but really it's about preparing a lot of you guys for retirement that might be fastly approaching. But also one of the big things we preach about is just understanding your situation, right? A lot of you want to retire next year or in 5 years or in 10 years, but you might not have started the groundwork. Hey, I have a 401k, an IRA, a brokerage account. Maybe I have Social Security. I got a pension, right? Okay, great. What does all that look like? What is your retirement years going to look like? When do you want to pull the plug and retire? What do you want to do in retirement? And really, we're here to help kind of encourage you guys to really make sure you're taking those steps. And that's why we also offer that complimentary discovery meeting where you can come in, sit down in one of our offices or jump on a Zoom call, and you can sit down with myself. We don't pass you off on anybody else. And you can really come in and really just see where you stack up with your situation and see if we would be a good fit to help maybe enhance your current situation as we transition into retirement.
888-823-PLAN, 888-823-7526. 888-823-7526. Call that number today. It's for Regari Financial with offices in Redlands and also Hemet, wherever you are in Southern California. Arrange to have a conversation with Logan Sadler. Leave your name and your phone number. You'll get a call back. And Logan has an excellent staff there, folks who really are ready, willing, and able to help you get to and through retirement. But you have to reach out first. Remember, retirement always, as we have said so many times before, is really permanent unemployment. So you got to do these things in advance and get prepared. 888-823-PLAN. I'm Ron Stutz along with Logan Sadler at Regari Financial. We'll have more coming up in just a moment. You're listening to the Financial Beat.
Are you worried about whether you're ready for retirement? Logan Sadler and the team at Regari Financial can help. Just text the word advice to 21,000 to take Regari Financial's free retirement roadmap checkup. Text the word advice to 21,000 and we'll send you a link to all of our free resources. From there, you can click on the button for the retirement roadmap checkup. You'll just have to answer a few questions and then you can see how prepared you are for retirement. This is a great starting point for people just starting to think about retirement. Text the word advice to 21,000 to get your free retirement roadmap checkup today. That's the word advice to 21000.
It's getting to know you time.
We talk about a lot of interesting things on this show, and one of the things that we have discussed from time to time is what's on your bucket list. What do you want to do? What do you want to achieve in your life? And Logan, I'm going to turn it on you here. What is on your bucket list that you have not yet achieved?
What's funny is this is actually, I thought about traveling first thing when I thought about this. Yeah. And it's funny because I loved people that either know me or listen to the show a lot. I love to hike. I love the outdoors. I love golf. I love surfing. I love the ocean, right? Yeah. And so what's funny is I've been to a lot of places. I've been very blessed to do a lot of fun traveling. I've never been to Hawaii.
Yeah.
Right, and everything I just mentioned is basically like Hawaii in a nutshell from what I hear. So it's funny, that's I actually had a trip planned in 2020, and we all know everything got kind of canceled then, so we have not rescheduled, and I've just never been. And so it's one of those places I'm just dying to go to because it sounds like it's got a little bit of everything I love, and so I kind of turned that over to traveling, Ron.
Folks, one of these days, Logan Sadler is going to star in the new edition of Hawaii Five-0, or Magnum PI, or whatever the case may be. You got a pretty well-rounded background as far as your traveling is concerned, but that's a good one. A lot of people have that aspiration. They want to go to Hawaii at some point.
Yeah, I'd love it. A lot of people say Italy or, a lot of these cool places, which those all sound great. But yeah, Hawaii just kind of sounds like the mecca for everything I like to do. Again, could be a total, letdown when I get there, or it could be everything I ever wanted. Who knows?
You're listening to The Financial Beat with Logan Sadler, and that's on his bucket list. What's on yours? We'll be back in just a moment.
Hi, I'm a cleverly devised personification of Wall Street. I'm one wild roller coaster ride away from wreaking havoc on your investments, and I love to mess with your emotions. If you're not properly diversified, you can bet I'll keep you up all night thinking about me. If you want to keep me off your mind, you really need a trusted advisor who'll look after your best interests. You also need a custom-designed financial plan that'll protect you from market volatility. Otherwise, when I take a plunge, I'll send you scrambling through your filing cabinet, hoping you were well prepared. Don't wait for turmoil to hit.
In Southern California, call Logan Sadler and the Regari Financial Team at 888-823-PLAN. That's 888-823-7526.
Do you ever find yourself skipping through countless songs trying to find the perfect one? Yeah, we've been there too, and know it can be frustrating. Much like skipping through the countless advertisements from other financial advisors, it can seem like there's so much misinformation. But here on the Financial Beat, you can rest assured we're providing you with the best information possible. So don't push skip on this show, because we have some important information coming up.
Welcome back. The Beat goes on. The Financial Beat, that is, with Logan Sadler, Vice President We spent a lot of time talking about why you need to call and why you need to arrange a discovery meeting with Logan Sadler. And then you can decide to move on from there if you like. And if you don't, hey, that's cool too. There is no cost and no obligation involved. 888-823-PLAN is your number to call Regary and make it all happen. I got a fun fact of the week here for you. I don't know how much fun this is, but it's kind of an interesting tidbit. A sneeze can travel at speeds up to 100 miles per hour, expelling droplets and microorganisms to a distance of up to 27 feet. I bet you never knew that.
You know what? That's what I love about doing this show every week, right? Is I always learn a little bit too. And that is, 100 miles an hour. Some of us have felt like a sneeze was coming out pretty fast, but we probably didn't know it was coming that fast.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is, number one, it's a little bit gross, right? But also it's a little bit educational, which is a good combo there, right?
Exactly. And when I sneeze, I have a feeling it's about 250 miles per hour. You know,
you got some good velocity.
I'm telling you. Now, let's talk about questions that you can't answer. And I'm talking about questions that our listeners can't answer necessarily. You know, if we knew the answer to certain questions, planning for retirement might be a whole lot easier than it is. But Logan, if you would, explain how you construct a plan that addresses all of these questions that folks can't possibly know the answer to. You know, we spend a lot of time talking about taxes on this show. A lot of financial advisors don't even take that into account. And we talk about, the possibility of saving you money on your taxes down the road. Some folks may want to know, what taxes are going to look like in the future. Everybody should want to know that. But here's a crazy question for you. I don't want to say what you have to say about this. What will your tax rate be 3 presidents from now? We don't even know what the tax rate's going to be just a couple of years from now. We certainly don't know 3 presidents away.
No, you don't, right? I think every president or every political party, every so many years, right, they have their own agendas or things like that they're trying to get passed. And for some reason, for some people, it's higher taxes, right?
Yeah.
And for some people, it's lower taxes. But I think we could all agree when you look at the landscape of the current overall economics of our current situation here in the U.S., I think it's pretty clear tax rates are going to have to go up, right? Whether it's dramatically, whether it's this year, whether it's next year, that I don't know the answer to. But I do think rates will go up. One thing I always tell clients is whether you liked Trump or not, right, it has nothing to do with it. The fact is, under the current situation, we are in some of the lowest tax rates really over the last decade that we have been in, right? So I think it's important to look that tax rates, are they going to be lower than where they are right now? Because again, we're at some historically low tax rates currently, pretty much across the board. Do we think they'll go lower? Probably not. Do we think they'll go up at some point? Probably, right? I'd say that there's a higher chance of them going up than them going down. So one thing we do with a lot of our clients is tax planning. When you look at Roth conversions, tax loss harvesting, using cash value life insurance, or a lot of these different types of strategies for tax-free money or tax-free income, that is going to be a huge plan, especially when tax rates go up. A lot of people aren't aware the current situation we're living in is some of the lowest tax rates we've had in a long time. And a lot of us might be able to do a lot of tax planning now that might save us thousands of dollars down the road by really looking at the overall landscape of your current retirement plan and the current tax structure. So we are very, very big believers and really have kind of an urgency around tax planning because a lot of us are very fearful that, we might run out of some time here down the road if tax rates change.
Yeah, absolutely. One more thing that I wanted to mention here, and I think we can all agree that basically we're all living longer these days. And unfortunately, it's still true. Unfortunately for us, it's still true that women tend to outlive us. But, but we talk about longevity a lot. And, we don't know exactly how long we're going to live. If we did, retirement planning would be a whole lot easier, wouldn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I was just reading an article the other day for Gen Xers that was basically showing if you retired at 65, you have I think it was a very, very high chance of living at least 20 more years, right? If you lived at 65. So if you retired at 65. So the thing is, when you look at the overall retirement landscape, you rewind 20 years ago, or 40 years ago, people were just happy to reach age 65, right? Now it's one of those things where that's great, you reach 65, but also you have a very high chance of living another 20 years. So we want to make sure when we're building out our retirement plan, longevity, like you said, is so important. I don't know when you're going to pass away. I could run you a bunch of different scenarios. If you got hit by the Mack truck, we call it, right? If something happened and gosh forbid you passed away or something dramatic happened, here's how it affects your plan. But I think some of the most important things is looking through some of those scenarios, but also, what if I did live 25 more years, right? How would this affect my overall plan? How much more income would I need? How much more money would I draw out of my accounts and things like that? So really looking at that is super important. And, one thing I always say, Ron, as we wrap up this segment here is I think it's so important when you're looking at the landscape of your retirement. The one thing we always are big believers in, you need to make sure that we always talk about that comprehensive plan, right? And what that is really is making sure you have a lot of these questions. We can't answer them 100%, right? However, we can address a lot of these questions and these concerns inside a very solid retirement plan that's going to give us some ideas of, hey, if tax rates did go up, would we be in trouble, right? If we did some tax planning now, will we save a lot of money during the current tax rates? Probably, right? And here's how much. You could show them the exact example. Is the market going to crash? Well, I don't know, but if it did, here's how much your accounts currently can go down if we had a 2008 scenario, right, where the markets crashed. Well, guess what? If that's too much risk for you, let's make those adjustments now, right? So a lot of these types of scenarios, longevity, all of that stuff, you could really factor into a good plan. And that's really what our job is. That is what an advisor's job, and that's what our team specializes in, is putting together that full plan that paints you that full picture of your next 20 or 30 years of retirement and helping you execute it to the most efficiency possible, right? Looking at all the different efficiencies and things like that we could throw in there, but also making sure it's customized to fit you and your family's goals and your concerns to get you not just to retirement, but also through retirement.
Call Logan Sadler's office right now, 888-823-PLAN. That is 888-823-PLAN. And when you do, leave your name and your phone number. You'll get a call back from the good folks at Regary Financial, and you can arrange to have a conversation with Logan Sadler. He's not going to put you off on anybody else. He is the person you will speak with, same person you hear on this show and on the podcast and on the YouTube videos. Logan Sadler, always excited to meet new folks, and you can kind of get to know each other in that first conversation that won't cost anything and won't obligate you to do anything at all beyond that. One more time, that number is 888-823-PLAN. This show is all about getting you to and through retirement, and we're going to have another conversation coming up in just a moment, so stay with us on The Financial Beat.
At the end of the day, no one truly understands your financial wants and desires better than you. That's why it's important to have financial independence. This means you can work when you want, you know exactly where your income is coming from, and most importantly, your finances are stable. If this sounds like something you want, well, text the word advice to the number 21,000. And Logan Sadler and his team at Regary Financial can provide you with their free guide on achieving financial independence. The free guide will show you how to create an action plan for getting to where you want to be. It'll explain how to calculate a financial independence goal. And it'll define what an ICE egg is and why it's so important. Download it now by texting the word advice to the number 21,000. Again, text the word advice to the number 21,000 to gain your financial independence today.
Do you hear that? That's the sound of a plan that has some serious issues. Much better. That's the sound of a plan that was created by someone listening to The Financial Beat with Logan Sadler. So which sound is your financial plan making?
We're back now with more of The Financial Beat. Ladies and gentlemen, Logan Sadler is here. Logan works with 3 different generations of client families at Regary. Many of those clients have been with the firm for more than 25 years and certainly count on Regary for helping them get to and through retirement. Also, they have terrific partnerships with local CPAs, attorneys, real estate agents, mortgage lenders, Medicare specialists, everybody involved in your financial life to help offer you well-rounded guidance in all things financial. You can get a discovery meeting at no cost and no obligation involved either. 888-823-PLAN. 888-823-PLAN is your number to call to make it happen. Doesn't matter if you live in Rancho Cucamonga, Hemet, Redlands, where the offices are, Beaumont, Temecula, wherever you are. Thanks for listening to the show today. Hey, kind of an off-the-wall getting to know you question. I know that, from all the conversations that we've had, I know that you enjoy going out to eat. You enjoy good food.
Oh, yeah.
We talked about Thanksgiving meals earlier today, but what is the best meal you've ever had?
Oh, man, that probably is, if not the hardest, one of the hardest questions I've ever had on the show here. I'm going to go recent, okay? I can't go all time because I probably forgot what was the best all time.
Sure.
Typically, for those of you that don't know, I'm a huge steak and potatoes person. Mm-hmm. I love a good steak, pretty much any type of cut. I also love pizza. Those are probably the two favorites. However, I did have I'm going to shout out a restaurant in Redlands out there. It's called Finney's, where they actually had a Wagyu, which for those of you who don't know, it's like a higher class like cut of meat, right?
Sure.
But there was a Wagyu burger I had. And it was one of the best cheeseburgers I've ever had. And I'm an In-N-Out fan, so I would say as of lately, that would probably be the best thing I've had. And I had that about 2 weeks ago, and it's one of those meals where I left there, and I've kind of still been kind of like craving it. You kind of leave, and you're like, man, I could use another one of those. So that's what I would say recently. But you ask me 2 weeks from now, it might be something else.
Oh yeah, that's for sure. And a shout out to, what was the name of the restaurant again?
Finney's.
Okay, Finney's.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey. Everybody head over there and check it out and tell them Logan Sadler sent you.
Yeah, it was great. It was great. It's a new spot, too, so caught me off guard, and I saw that. I've never seen a Wagyu burger before, so I'm like, yeah, let's give it a shot.
Well, sorry to put you on the spot there, so,
You're good.
But we all love food, that's for sure. That's one of the signs of a good life. Well, let's talk about signs of good financial health. Explain why each of these items is a sign of good financial health for retirees and pre-retirees as well. First of all, you got somebody who spends less than she makes. That's always a good sign, right?
That's always a great recipe for success, right? If you make $8,000 a month and you spend $6,000, that means there's $2,000 a month left over. That's a good number, right? Mm-hmm. I see some people that make $20,000 a month and they spend $28,000, right? So it's like, that's not good math, right? You want to make sure, it's so important to save money monthly. I actually just had this question yesterday from a client where they're like, how much should you be saving, right? There's not an exact math. I mean, you can look at a lot of like the Dave Ramsey studies, or a lot of these Vanguards or Fidelities will have different numbers out there as far as savings rate. I always say a really good rate, if you could save anywhere between 10 to 20% of your income, well, in retirement accounts, bank account, wherever you're saving money, I think is a really good start. Obviously, I could break it down more directly for your situation of where I think money should be going. However, saving money is just a good start, right? There's a lot of people out there where, I always say it doesn't matter your income, and that might sound like a crazy term. When you look at, some people make $4,000 a month and some people make $30,000 a month, right? You think that person that makes $30,000 should be able to save more. However, that is not the case, right? I think it's super important that no matter how much you make, whether you make $5,000 a month or you make, $20,000 a month, I think spending less than you make is super important, and understanding your budget and your overall income is one of the first steps to setting yourself up successfully for retirement and for investing and all those things that come along with it.
We're talking about signs of good financial health. Certainly spending less than you make is a good one, but also you understand the future tax implications of your savings. And that's not necessarily an easy topic. I mean, we discussed it before, but it's good to know those things and to prepare for them.
It really is. One thing, I'll kind of like alter that question right there, or that statement, right? I think just understanding not only your future tax implication, but your current tax implication, because a lot of people just automatically think the Roth IRA is where you should put your money. And I would say more often than not, that's probably a good statement, right? However, I do have some clients where it's like it doesn't make a lot of sense because they're in extremely high income tax brackets right now. But when they go to retire in a few years, they're going to be in a lot lower tax bracket because their income is going to drop dramatically, right? So then at that point, you might be able to do Roth conversions at a lower tax rate, and it might make more sense tax-wise. I know I got a little nerdy there real quick, but just an example, I think it's super important to understand your tax situation of now and how you're investing And also when you begin to take withdrawals and have distributions coming from that account, how that's going to be taxed and what your tax rate could potentially look like. And just understanding the overall, tax, I would say like just tax awareness is very important, not only now, but when you're ready to retire, and making sure you understand how that's going to unfold.
Still, another good sign of good financial health is if you're married, both you and your spouse know enough about the retirement plan to be able to manage if something happens to the other one. And that is so important. And oftentimes that's where you come in.
Yeah, absolutely. I've dealt with a lot of people like that. I'm dealing with one right now where, unfortunately, the wife handled everything and took care of everything, and the husband, had, as he said, he had the best wife ever, never had to worry about a thing. Unfortunately, she passed away. It was one of those scenarios where all of a sudden she was gone. She was in her late 70s. She handled absolutely everything for the last 50 years of marriage plus. Yeah. And now all of a sudden he's like, I don't even know how much my electric bill is, right? So he's just one of those scenarios where she took care of everything. And now he's really having to rely on us to making sure that we're putting together a financial plan. We understand his spending, his budgeting, and, is he going to be okay? Is he going to be able to stay in his house? What's his future income going to look like? And how are we going to replace some of the income probably lost? And really kind of going over that. That's why I really do encourage, if possible, having your spouse involved. I've had a lot of meetings where maybe it's just the wife or it's just the husband and there are other ones, not the other spouses involved. I think it's so important to have two people involved, whether they're an expert in it or not, just to kind of understand the concept of their situation and the plan. It makes them so much more aware if something were to happen, as well as they feel comfortable dealing with the financial advisor they've already met before, they know each other, and it's a much easier transition to make sure they're taken care of during some of those hard times.
Even if, you have a conversation with one of the spouses, and they go home and try to explain it to the other person, chances are, it's going to lose a lot in translation, so they're not really going to understand what you said. So it's important to have both of them there.
I always joke, one of my biggest fears, and some of the statistics. Sorry, one of the biggest. Yeah. One of the biggest things is it's funny because we go over, some of our second meetings, that's where we go over strategies and really and strategies and solutions that we're going to be implementing throughout the plan. Yeah. It's so interesting because that's an hour and a half to 2 hour meeting sometimes, right? Mm-hmm. Going over tax solutions, estate planning, investments, a lot of these different things. I'm always say I would be impressed if somebody remembered 50% of that when they left, right? Because it's a lot. And so like you said, if they're remembering 50% of that, they're going to go home and tell their wife, if they're lucky, 25% of that, right? Because now they got to remember that all the way home. So I definitely think just being involved is so important.
Another sign of good financial health is, and this is basic here, you have a retirement income plan, a plan that's written down that you can refer to from time to time and know exactly what's happening. And also you have the realization that retirement income plan may need to be changed every now and then.
Yeah, great point there. I think that's a very valid point. So I think when you look at the retirement plan, right, it's funny because a lot of you out there, and I'm not calling any of you out or trying to say anything bad, but the statistics show that a lot of people don't have a written retirement plan. It's a very high percentage. I've seen a lot of people, they go, well, I know I need $5,000 a month. My Social Security is $2,000 a month, so I just take $3,000 a month out of my IRA. Okay, perfect, right? So how long will that last? Well, it should last me 10 years or 15 years, right? Okay, well, what if you live 20, right? That's the first question. So I say when you look at a retirement income plan, what does that need to have? And number one, like Ron said, which is a great point, Ron, is you want to make sure it's written down. And then the next thing is you want to make sure, is that adjusted for inflation, right? Are we going to have any chances to take more money out down the road? If so, how much and when? Also, when could we run out of money, right? Is this a 10-year plan, a 30-year plan, or a 45-year plan, right? The next thing also is, what would happen if something happened to one of you and we had to replace income, right? Because a lot of us forget, if we're both taking Social Security, if one of us passes away, we lose the lowest one, right? So now all of a sudden we got to replace income. So I think looking at a lot of those different stages, there's like 4 or 5 things you really got to unpack in a retirement income plan. It's not just I have $1 million in an IRA, so I just take from it whenever I want to. That could be a very big recipe to really drive you into the ground pretty quick there if you're not really sure how to really construct that income plan. As I always say, most people don't get hurt going up Mount Everest, right? They actually get hurt coming down Mount Everest. And so I think that's the same thing as retirement planning, right? A lot of people are very good at accumulating wealth. I was talking with a client the other day or someone who's coming on board with our firm, and they have a large amounts of money. They're in that $8 million range. And it's funny because he had said it was really easy to get that money for him, right? He was very good at saving money, made a lot of money, and put money away. However, he's retired now, and he's at this situation where he's not really sure how to start coming down the mountain. And so I think it's important, no matter what asset size you have, to really understand your situation and how your retirement plan is going to work coming down the mountain.
You know, I really appreciate the fact that you liked what I said a moment ago and you thought it was a good idea, and I've forgotten what it was by now. But I just wanted to point out to you that even a blind squirrel finds an acorn every now and then.
Yeah. Well, you've had a few this show, which is awesome. So and you have a lot of them every show. So I love it.
You're listening to the Financial Beat, and I'm going to tell you how you can get in touch with Logan Sadler in just a moment. If any of these things are kind of causing a light bulb to go on above your head, and you're thinking, gee, I need to talk to that guy. Well, we'll give you the number coming up in just a couple of minutes here. But in general, we're talking about signs of good financial health, but in general, somebody who is healthy financially is, they're not having to worry about their financial future. They're not tossing and turning all night because they are secure in the knowledge that they have a good plan and they have peace of mind, right?
Absolutely. I think having that well-constructed plan, it's amazing where I'll go through our planning process. And like I said, we'll talk about income, talk about taxes. We're talking about the estate plan. We're going to look at your allocations. How much do we have in the market? How much are in growth stocks? How much are in ETFs? Do we have annuities? Do we have alternatives? Do we have bonds? You look at all these different types of things into the income plan. It's amazing where, Ron, you'll see the market go up and down. And a lot of those clients that have that well-constructed plan, they're like, hey, I'm fine. I know that if the market does this, that, or the other thing, as long as it performs how it has the last 100 years, I'm going to be fine, right? And they know that they look at these different strategies. They're not over-leveraged, or they're not taking too much risk, or they're not taking too much income, and they're doing tax strategies that are probably saving them money, as well as during down markets, they're probably doing extra tax strategies that are saving them potentially even more money. So it's amazing when you have somebody that has that well-constructed plan, they're not as worried about the day-to-day activity, and that's why we call it enjoying that peace of mind retirement. And that's exactly what our firm strives for with everybody that we meet with when they come into our office. Some of the things we go through is making sure that they're a good fit for our firm, and also making sure that we're a good fit for them, and helping them bring these strategies to life inside their plan to help get them to and through retirement.
If you want to find out more about a financial game plan for you, Logan Sadler can put it together, but you have to reach out and make contact first. 888-823-PLAN, 888-823-PLAN, your number to call if you'd like to get in touch with Regary Financial. Leave your name and your phone number, and the team at Regary Financial will get back with you on the phone first part of the week and set a convenient time for you to have your conversation, kind of a getting to know you session with Logan Sadler. He'll sit down with you and talk about some basic questions that you have, give you some answers, and get to know you a little bit. And that is a really big key, getting to know you, and then tailoring a retirement plan just for you, for your specific wants and needs and your specific situation. 888-823-7526, which is, of course, 888-823-PLAN. I'm Ron Stutz along with Logan Sadler, and we'll have more coming up in just a moment. We appreciate your listening today to the Financial Beat.
When you reflect on your life, what would you like to see as your fondest memories? Summers at your favorite vacation spot? Ice cream with the grandkids after their first T-ball game? Maybe it was your great adventure across the world. Of course, those memories are still in the future, although they're not as far away as you might think. Be sure you have a financial plan to make them happen. Don't find yourself worrying while enjoying that ice cream. Peace of mind is attainable in your retirement. With the proper planning, you can secure a meaningful retirement.
In Southern California, call Logan Sadler and the Regary Financial Team at 888-823-PLAN. That's 888-823-7526.
I'm telling you, who's on first, what's on second, I don't know's on third.
You know the fellow's names?
Yes. Well, then who's playing first?
Yeah.
I mean, the fellow's name on first base.
Who?
The guy on first base.
Who is on first?
Well, what are you asking me for?
If your head is spinning from confusing financial terms and data, clear up the confusion right here on The Financial Beat.
We're back now with more of The Financial Beat. Ladies and gentlemen, Logan Sadler is here on the radio show as always. Thanks for listening. But Logan Sadler is not only on the radio, but you can find him on the internet, of course, in a variety of ways. First of all, there are podcasts that are available where you can go back and listen to some of our older shows. And there's a YouTube channel where you can get to know Logan that way and get a lot of helpful information. Logan, if you would, take a moment and explain how folks can get to all that great information.
Yeah, so you can head over to Podcast Land, wherever it is you download podcasts. Might be on Apple Music, Amazon, Spotify, wherever it is. And you can check out these exact shows like the one you're listening to right now. There's well over 100 of them uploaded for you to check out. And the nice part is, like I said, you can kind of find some of the ones that pertain more to your situation. As well as you also have the YouTube channel, like you were saying, Ron, where you can head over to YouTube, type in The Financial Beat with Logan Sadler, and we do a video each week on a lot of different retirement planning topics and really just some tips and tricks and strategies and things like that for you to check out. And you can head over to YouTube, again, type in The Financial Beat, and there's one uploaded each week. Some of them are between, 3 to 5 minutes. And again, head over there, click like, subscribe, and maybe let us know some other videos you'd like us to do, that questions you have on retirement planning.
You've certainly accumulated a lot of those over a relatively short period of time. Logan Sadler, of course, has a lot of good information for you. Check it out. And listen, if you want a conversation with Logan, you can call 888-823-PLAN for one of the discovery meetings, and we'll talk more about that coming up here. You get lots of great questions every single week from folks, and we call this segment of the show the mailbag or request line, depending on how that question came in. First question today is from Sam in San Jacinto, and Sam says, I have a rental property that gives me some nice income, but it also gives me a lot of headaches. What kind of return should I be getting from something like that to make it worth all these headaches?
That's a great question. Thanks for writing in, Sam. We appreciate it. The thing with real estate is a lot of advisors will get on here and bag real estate and say you should sell all your homes and invest all the money with them and all that fun stuff, right? I don't think real estate's a bad asset class. Obviously, I'm a numbers guy, and it's hard to argue against what real estate has done over the period of time. I always say, when you look at the stock market and you look at the real estate market, I'd say both those are probably two of the better strategies to invest and build wealth and, really over a long period of time. The one thing I would say with real estate that kind of turns some people off, especially as they get older, is the headaches, right? Or I don't want to be a landlord anymore. Mm-hmm. And so I see a lot of clients that aren't necessarily building wealth through real estate in retirement. A lot of the times they're offloading real estate or doing tax planning strategies and things like that with it, because it's just at a point in time where they just maybe don't want to deal with the headaches for whatever amount of money they're getting. To answer your question, I don't have an exact number. Like, I'm not going to say, it's an 8% return or a 5% return, because sometimes no return is worth the headache, right? It really, to me, depends on if you like being a landlord, if it's a good investment and it's something you want to do, I would keep doing it, right? I think it's a good spot, stay as is. If it's one of those things where you feel like you're not making enough money, it's too much of a headache, and you just don't want to do it anymore, then it might be a time to maybe sell that house and look at other properties or other types of solutions where you could dump some of that money in. That might be a little bit more stress-free. So I think it really depends on your situation, Sam, and I'd love to dive further in that in a discovery meeting to go through kind of more of what you're feeling, what the actual numbers are, to really give you a justification on which way you might want to go.
Sam, you want to follow this up with a phone call? It's 888-823-PLAN. Sit down and talk with Logan about all of this in much more detail. Some folks just don't want to be a landlord at all, yep. And some folks have done it, and they're just not geared up to do it many more years. It's a difficult thing to do, for sure.
Yeah.
Next question here is from Billy in Lake Elsinore. And Billy says, Logan, I just found out that I can qualify for a much bigger mortgage than I ever anticipated. But common sense is telling me that maybe I shouldn't necessarily buy the most expensive house that I can qualify for. How do you guide people on this kind of a question?
Yeah, it's a tough one to go through, right? I think because a lot of times it's our home, right? People love to buy homes. They love to buy big homes, and we like to buy homes we could sometimes grow into. However, you don't typically want to go, if the max you can qualify for is $800,000, you probably don't want to go over $800,000, right? Or necessarily even to the top of that, because you don't want the mortgage to be too much of your income. I see a lot of people out there that are house poor, as we call it, right, or house broke. And it's one of those things that it's very easy for a lot of us to qualify for homes. However, if we're actually including our overall budget, we probably wouldn't qualify for that home, right? When you look at a lot of the home loans, they're not really justifying how much do you spend on gas, how much is your utilities going to be versus this house versus the house you have, right? There's a lot of those variations that I think you got to look at when you're qualifying for homes, and really making sure you're not getting into a situation that might be a little bit too much of a bite for you to swallow, right? And so I think looking at your overall income, before anybody buys a house, I always think it's a great time to go through your actual budget. Look at, okay, well, they're saying I could afford $5,000 a month mortgage. However, when I add in all my bills, utilities, and all that, I probably wouldn't make it, right? So you really want to look at all those numbers and make sure it's a real mathematically smart decision before jumping on it.
I'm sure you'd say the same thing, but I know a lot of folks out there who, they live in a big, really impressive-looking house, and, we don't have any idea how poor they really are and how they're struggling to make those payments. So
it's true. It's very true. It happens all the time.
Yeah. One more question today, Logan. It's from Mary in Corona. And Mary says, I've heard that you should set a goal to save 15% of your income toward retirement. This seems incredibly daunting and, quite frankly, impossible for me. Is it really necessary to save that much?
Yeah, the one thing I always say, a great question, Mary, by the way. Like I was saying in that earlier segment, I always say it's anywhere from 10 to 20% is a really good savings rate. Now, for some of us, depending on current bills or income or stage of life, it might be harder to reach those numbers, right? I have some people where maybe you're a single mom or a single dad, your kids are in college, you're helping them out with that. You have another kid that's going to school, so you're paying for sports, and you have all these other bills that are adding on. So maybe you can only save 10% of your income, right? I think it's really important to be saving something. And one thing I always like to point out is one thing an advisor can do is really forecast, well, if we stayed at this savings rate, here's how much you'd have for retirement, and here's what your retirement would look like, right? I always say it's not really just based off of today's numbers, but what are you saving for, right? You're saving for probably for retirement. And so really understanding that, saving $100 a month for retirement probably isn't going to build you up the nest egg you're going to need in retirement, right? You're probably going to need to be putting away more than that. So I think I kind of like to reverse engineer it that way, Ron, and say, okay, what do we want a retirement to look like? Well, I would like I'd like $10,000 a month. I want to travel. I enjoy, I enjoy long trips. I enjoy spending time with the grandkids. And like I said, I might buy another house in retirement as well, too, for a vacation home. Well, guess what? We're able to reverse engineer that and say, okay, well, you're going to need $1 million or $2 million or $100,000 or whatever your retirement looks like. And then that could tell us how much should we be saving now to achieve those goals and if it's even doable, rather than just saying, hey, save a percentage of your income.
Yeah, boy, there's so many things to consider, that's for sure. And, different people do it different ways, and we always say different strokes for different folks. And you're an individual, and your situation is not exactly like your next-door neighbors or your sister-in-law or anything like that. It's all specifically catered to you, this retirement plan that we're talking about here. And Logan Sadler has put together plans for so many folks and would love to help you as well. Logan, I'm going to give out that number again for just a moment for folks to call you and get a discovery meeting. But take a moment, if you would, and explain what a discovery meeting is all about.
Yeah, so the best part about our discovery meeting, a lot of people, when they meet with an advisor, they think it's a one and done where you meet with them and, hey, you got to decide if we're a good fit and got to move forward right now. And we really refined our process quite a few years ago where we have a 3-step process before we ever bring on a client, right? And I think that allows us a really good opportunity for us to really get to know the client, understand their situation, allow them to get to know us, and really make sure we're putting together the best plan we can to really wrap in all together to understand their goals and their concerns. And it all starts with that discovery meeting. And at the discovery meeting, you bring in all your statements, some things we'll ask you for, and really we just kind of go over your current financial situation, what some of your goals are, what some of your concerns are, what has been your experience with the current investments you've had, what changes are you open to making, or tax rates, what's your current tax rates, or can we do any tax planning around those situations, and really just kind of talking through what it is you're trying to achieve, what your goals are, and that allows us to really put together a plan for us to go over at meeting 2. So the nice part about it is that meeting 1 is really just a getting to know you, to really get to understand our firm. A lot of you have a little bit more questions about, what we do and how we do it, and also we have a lot more questions for you as far as what are you looking to do and how can we be a good fit moving forward. So definitely anybody out there who's open to looking at change in their current situation, or maybe they don't have a financial plan and are saying, you know what, I'm at that age where retirement is approaching very quickly. It's next year, next month, or in 5 years, and I really need to get a plan together. We're a great place for you to call and really come in and see if we're a good fit to get you to and through retirement.
Why not call Regary Financial today? The number is 888-823-PLAN, 888-823-PLAN. Maybe you've been thinking about this for a long time. You've been listening to the show and thinking, one of these days, I'm going to get around to calling Logan Sadler. Why not make today the day that you stop procrastinating, because procrastination is not your friend. 888-823-PLAN is your number to call to make it happen. You can get a discovery meeting that is not going to cost you a penny, not going to obligate you to do anything at all. Technically, we call it a discovery visit. You visit with Logan. He gets to know you. You get to know him. You can decide if you move on from there. It's totally up to you. You're under no pressure at all. No money is going to change hands. It's just the way that Logan makes this offer to everybody who listens to the program. 888-823-PLAN. That's your number to call to make it happen. Wherever you are in Southern California, please call that number and you'll be on your way to getting successfully to and through retirement. Logan, it's been fun hanging out with you today. I know you're going to get a lot of phone calls from folks who want to get to know you better.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. And it's always great talking with a lot of you. I know I've met with a lot of you guys lately, and a lot of you we've been able to help and really put in a better situation. And we always enjoy that. It's great meeting with all of you. And I appreciate each and every one of you that listen each week. And me and Ron are going to be back here again next week, trying to do it a little bit better than we did this week, as we try every time.
I don't know about that, but we'll be back for sure. Join us again next time for the next edition of the Financial Beat with Logan Sadler.
Regary Financial and Insurance Services, Inc. and BD Financial Group, Inc. are separate and independent entities. The information provided in this presentation is presented for educational and informational purposes only and does not constitute financial, investment, tax, or legal advice, nor does it constitute an offer or solicitation to buy or sell any securities.